Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching the Today I Found Our YouTube channel, and in the video today we're looking at that time that Coca-Cola tried to sell bottled tap water in the UK and the hilarity that ensued. As literally one of the biggest companies on earth, Coca-Cola has their giant fingers in a lot of equally giant pies. One of those fingers happens to be dipped in the extremely lucrative bottled water market. The product we're talking about today is Dasani, which currently earns Coca-Cola just shy of $1 billion per year in the United States, despite being a drink that is nothing but filtered tap water with sodium chloride, table salt, potassium chloride, and magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt added. While Dasani sells exceptionally well in America, when they tried to launch it to the market in the UK, they not only insinuated in their official slogan that it was full of semen, but also accidentally introduced illegal amounts of a potential cancer-causing substance during the filtration process. The result was disastrous for the company, likely costing them several $100 million in the UK alone since then, and putting a full stop on their previous plans to expand the brand to places like Germany and France. This particular tale of corporate hubris began back in 2003 when Coca-Cola decided to try and capitalize on the rising British demand for bottled water by launching their budget line of bottled water, Dasani, in the UK. Given UK citizens' apparent preference towards so-called high-end bottled waters, with about 91% of all bottled water in the UK being naturally sourced versus about 75% in the United States, Coca-Cola chose not to advertise the fact that, much like in the United States, Dasani is simply filtered tap water, in this case quietly sourced from a plant in Sidcup, Kent. At this time, a half-litre of water from the plant was selling for about 0.03p. For reference, Dasani was put on the shelves at a price of 95p per half-litre bottle, a hefty markup even considering bottling and transportation costs, as well as a retail markup. Unsurprisingly, after a 2004 article in The Grocer casually mentioned the tap water source of Dasani water, the wider media was soon whipped up into a frenzy. Among other things, Coca-Cola's audacity in this situation was humorously compared to a plot of an episode of the popular British sitcom Only Fools and Horses, in which the main characters attempt to bottle and then sell tap water from Peckham for an exorbitant markup via marketing it as Peckham Spring. It should be noted here that Sidcup, where Dasani water in the UK was sourced, is only about 10 kilometers from Peckham. Things continued to go wrong for Coke when they launched their online marketing campaign and began advertising Dasani as being full of spunk, bottled spunk, and that you can't live without spunk, causing even more widespread mockery from the public and the media. You see, in the UK, spunk is slang for semen. This was even more humorous given that many of the advertising images featured models who apparently never learned to drink water properly, splashing Dasani all over their faces. Coca-Cola also insisted in their marketing that this particular spunk was something you can enjoy at home, at the gym, at work, and in between, and that it is vitally refreshing and abundantly available, and is a way of everyday life. After cleaning up their online marketing campaign, Coca-Cola attempted to justify the fact that they were selling drastically marked up public water to the public by releasing a PR statement espousing the purity of Dasani, using buzzwords like multi-barrier filtration and reverse osmosis, adding that the water went through a technique perfected by NASA to purify fluids on spacecraft. By fluids, they mean things like urine, which doesn't sound very good if explicitly mentioned in an ad campaign. Of course, a much less sexy way to describe their filtration process is to simply say that it's essentially the same filtration system many home water filters use. In making these various claims, Coca-Cola inadvertently offended the supplier of their water, Thames Water, who felt that the statements made by the company made it sound like Thames Water's tap water wasn't already purified and safe to drink, with the water company noting they subjected their water to a 9-stage filtration process. Besides noting that the water was already purified, a spokesman from Water UK, a company representing the various water companies in the UK, also pointed out the real benefit of such bottled water, which few, if any, bottled water companies bother to mention in their marketing for obvious reasons. We don't think there are any impurities in tap water. People don't need to buy this stuff to get excellent quality water. If they like the bottle, the convenience, then fine, but I don't think that is the way they are marketing this product. Tap water is pure, Coca, and that's the opinion of the Drinking Water Inspectorate, which carries out 3 million checks a year. A Coca-Cola representative, Judith Snyder, shot back saying that the source of the water was irrelevant, once again citing their purification process that they insisted made the water taste better. The media again pounced on this claim, eventually finding that in blind taste tests, members of the public generally couldn't distinguish between Dasani and tap water from Thames water when served at the same temperatures and in the same types of cup. Despite this, Coca-Cola once again doubled down on marketing their purification process, hoping that it would sway the public back to their side. Unfortunately, the process they used to filter their water actually left it filled with about double the legal amount, 10 micrograms per litre, of a potentially cancer-causing compound, bromate. Shortly after illegal levels of bromate were found in Dasani, a spokesman for the Drinking Water Inspectorate released a statement noting that Thames water supply, the place Dasani was sourced from, contained no bromate whatsoever. So where did it come from? It was eventually determined that during the final stage of the purification process used to produce Dasani, when ozone is used to sterilize the water, the small amount of naturally occurring bromide contained within the tap water reacted with the ozone to produce the suspected carcinogen bromate. The result was that Coke recalled over 500,000 bottles of Dasani, and the Food Standards Agency advised people who had already purchased Dasani not to drink it, though also noting that the levels of bromate in Dasani, while well above the legal limit, did not pose any immediate health risk. As you can imagine, after the combined news broke that Coca-Cola was taking ordinary tap water, accidentally adding a potential cancer-causing substance, and then marking it up 316,600%, the PR nightmare reached its zenith in the region, and they withdrew Dasani from the UK, as well as cancelled planned launches of Dasani in certain other regions in Europe. Beyond the millions of pounds of money lost directly in the launch attempt, £7 million in marketing alone, or about £10 million or $15 million today, the full size of the financial hit Coca-Cola ultimately took because of the failure isn't clear. But given that the bottled water industry is currently sitting at gross sales of £2.5 billion, that's $3.6 billion in the UK, up from £1.2 billion in 2004, which adjusted for inflation is £1.7 billion today, and that Dasani, thanks to its relative cheapness compared to many other bottled waters, is currently pulling in just shy of $1 billion per year in the United States, it's safe to say that in the 12 years since this disastrous product launch, Coca-Cola has lost out on at least hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, when looking at the expanded European market, at least when talking about Dasani sales. But don't feel too bad for the company, because beyond purchasing such UK-based bottled water companies as Abbywell in 2008, about a decade after the failed launch of Dasani in the UK, they successfully managed to launch one of their many other water brands, Glasso Smart Water, in the region. This is a product that in 2015 earned Coca-Cola a cool $700 million in the United States alone, though it's still lagging well behind Dasani sales there. Unlike Dasani, which is always sourced from public water supplies, Glasso Smart Water is sourced from spring water, which means it must come from a single non-polluted groundwater source, i.e. a well. In this case, after the water is pumped from the ground, it's filtered using a vapor-distilled process, essentially evaporating the water, then condensing it and adding some electrolytes for flavor because, well, most people really don't like the flavor of pure distilled water, among other potential downsides to drinking such water exclusively. Thanks to better marketing, avoiding implying that their product was full of semen, branding the name of the product seeming to imply that it comes from a glacier, when in fact glasso is just French for ice, and being implied as a smart purchase, and avoiding adding ingredients that potentially contribute to a customer's getting cancer, the launch of Glasso Smart Water in the UK was a smashing success. And now for a bonus fact. Contrary to C-3PO's estimates in Empire Strikes Back, it should actually be quite safe to fly through an asteroid field. The reality is that the objects in asteroid fields are generally hundreds of thousands of miles apart, and most of them are no bigger than a tennis ball. For instance, if you added up all of the mass of the asteroids in our solar system's asteroid belt, it's a mere 4% of the mass of our moon, with about half of the total mass coming from just 4 asteroids. So that's our asteroid belt. Could there be one out there that would be dangerous to fly through? Unlikely unless it was formed extremely recently, the reason being that even if the asteroid belt is initially packed with debris that are colliding everywhere, like what is depicted in Empire Strikes Back, this would relatively quickly, on a galactic timescale, sort itself out, with most of the mass being ejected from the belt. Eventually, the system would stabilize itself to something like our asteroid belt. And if you're thinking now that maybe the Hoth asteroid belt was a newly formed phenomenon, it was actually described in the expanded universe as having been formed several million years before the events of Empire Strikes Back via a collision of two rocky planets. For further reference, our asteroid belt is thought to have originally contained approximately 1,000 times its current mass, and within about a million years stabilized down to in the ballpark of the mass we have today. It's also worth noting that objects that are greater than about 6 miles wide in our asteroid belt are estimated to have about one random collision every 10 million years or so, on average. So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please do hit that like button below and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, over there on the right, a couple of other videos you might enjoy if you enjoyed this one. And thank you for watching.